I got a new computer light for my video quality, and I just figured the best way to confront the issues it's gonna have today is by just opening it up just from the jump. Just let's go ahead and look like I'm doing this show under a spotlight, which is what I usually feel like anyway. Seth was also going for a visual bit in the cold open. We did not plan that. We're just both in pretty vulnerable places. Nate, what are you vulnerable about today?
The fact that I have so many drives to and from St. Joe still. Um, I'm here, guys. I made it. I made it. I'm
that's a lot
home.
of deer to miss.
That's a lot, and no one's got me yet. So we're almost there. We're almost there. But you okay? Cause it
Yeah,
looks
fine. Is
like
this not? I actually believe it or not, so I actually got a 2-pack of these lights because I thought maybe I just put one on either side of my webcam, so I'd be because I was telling Seth this before we started that I was going to tell you guys about these lights if they work because they're a great price, but you guys generally have like pretty consistent lighting, and my office has these 2 windows and the overhead. I'm just never really happy with the lighting and where I've got my little ring light, so this felt like it'd be a good solution. And I should have been warned that it has the Batman symbol in the middle of it. So actually, right now, several miles down, I'm afraid I may have summoned a vigilante.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
you look like someone who's in a dermatology ad in the before category.
I do.
No,
I do.
Just commented. Cable 368 just commented left to right. It just gradually gets dark.
Brother, I can't. Oh, there it is. I could not
Holy
understand what you
smokes.
said.
Joshua is the ghost of Christmas past.
KL368, as Seth was giggling through, commented, left to right, it just gets darker.
And
Factually speaking.
Nothing's changed about me, guys. Not a single thing has changed about your boy.
The world has changed. Changed around you.
Yeah, other than the fact that St. Joseph has changed me, and not in the most positive way.
It never does. It never does. There are like 3 people a year who leave at St. Joe in better shape than they entered it. They're all like undrafted free agents, and it's pretty rare. I believe it or not, now I have turned my light back down to its second lowest setting. I can't even tell what's helping anymore. See, this is what I used to look like, and now I've got a soft glow. So welcome into Only Weird Games, where we do a predominantly audio show filled with visual mediums just to make sure that we keep everybody on their toes.
I just like that your settings are between, I own the night and I am Gabriel, the mouthpiece of God.
Yeah.
That's, there's, and you got to pick one.
I guess I could have noted that the light's so bright I can't show you the box it came in because it just reflects. You see this box? It's just basically a mirror. This is its lowest setting now, and I feel like it's brighter than it was before. So I mean, I don't know. I did this for the viewers is really what it's for. And I think what we can all agree is that the viewers wanted to see more of my pores.
Yeah.
So that helped make it worse.
I think Nathan Hoisington Shaw has a great question here. When does the makeup routine video come out, Josh? I
wish I could. Maybe I'll do I'll do my beard routine or something for people, like I don't even feel qualified to do that. Look, man, I wanted to improve the lighting a little bit instead of just hoping that the sun passes over at the right time for maximum visual enjoyment. And I may have gone too bright. And if somebody wants the other one of these, I'll
you look fine, man.
I'll give it away. But I wanted it to look good. It's not how I feel; it's how it looks. You got a call, Seth?
Perfect.
You want to take that?
God, I'm such a loser. I'm sorry. Just honest to God. If I could commit seppuku in front of all of you right now, I would.
I'm up against several terms and conditions, so with no seppuku. In fact, Nate, why don't you just bask in the fact that you're home from St. Joseph right now? And you weren't even here with us on Thursday, so we haven't gotten a St. Joe update from you in a week. Maybe that explains how much life has left you, because it's been a full week and not just a couple days between appearances.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I'm gonna do two things fairly brief. Um, the hospitality from the folks at Missouri Western has been a clear upgrade this year from previous years. So I do want to give them
Cool.
their credit and obviously their respect. Today was an annual tradition of Zarda Barbecue.
Big day.
Graced us with their lovely barbecue, most notably the beans and the burnt ends. My goodness, every year it gets me. It's one of the reasons why I wear the hat, because it's a tradition. It really is a tradition. Um, I was told that players, not media members, although Pete Sweeney went and kind of double dipped when he wasn't supposed to. But I was told that players could eat with us, and that they would have their own sort of Zarda catering at around, I guess, like now, like 4:30, 5 o'clock for like an early dinner. So if you're a veteran like Nick Bolton, you could have 2 servings of Zarda barbecue. Now, I don't know if he did that this year. He did it last year. I know Trey Smith is very Trey Smith's one of the greatest eaters on the roster.
Yeah.
But no, Zarda was excellent. And then lastly, you guys have really been so sweet and thankful. I begrudgingly have to tell Josh and Seth that Adam Teicher's nephew, loves the show and loves you guys and was very happy to meet me today.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
That is fabulous.
yeah,
If Tom is an audio only listener, he missed Seth dancing and me throwing my arms in the air.
right.
We're very happy, Tom, and we
Yeah.
love you
yeah,
more than your uncle.
I
But-
love your uncle more because I don't believe we've met.
yeah. No one.
No, I'm saying we love Tom more than his uncle loves him.
Oh,
right,
got it. Oh, excellent.
right. Yes,
Um,
yes. Which might be factual.
Yeah, who knows?
I'll have to get that back to you.
Shout out to Adam Teicher's estranged nephew.
And Tom stopped liking us now, so
But yeah,
that didn't take long.
If that's what it took, he never really
Right.
did.
A couple more names. There's Luke from Overland Park, Henry, who
I don't know how their uncles feel about that.
Sunday. There's Jared from Chicago. Did want to shout him out. This was from a few weeks ago. And then Phil Taylor, you know who you are. You know, you were just there, and I think I have to give Matt Verderam the assist on Phil Taylor.
Matty V.
We didn't meet in the flesh, but messages were relayed back to me. So yeah, everybody's been very nice. It's been cool, to still be stunned when someone shouts my name and I'm not in Chiefs memorabilia at all. But yeah, training camps been fine this year. I have to be sad to report, gentlemen, that it's pretty boring when I understand our commenters are saying, was John Gruden? Yes, John Gruden camp
Can we
has
rip
been
that
the
one off
most
real quick?
interesting thing in the last week. Literally.
You tell me
The
about
most
that, and I'm going to
interesting.
tell you the one thought I'd like to share.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware, John Gruden, the email guy,
Hey, he was also, I mean, of course, fired in disgrace after a disgraceful tenure.
the
Oakland, Vegas.
per his emails.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't send it to everybody, John. But that's beyond just the horrid,
reply all
the
horrid
thoughts and opinions and views of this man. But anyway, there were no Spider 2 Y bananas, but John Gruden was at training camp, or he has been, for several practices. It was quite stunning to see him in Chiefs gear. It's like kind of one of those like old school photos that you're gonna look back and say that's not real, and that's even before like Photoshop. So just a quick little example. At the Indianapolis Star, where I worked, there are archival photographs of Larry Bird working out in an Indiana Pacers uniform. those aren't like that. That's not real. The hell is that? Because
The
C
Gruden
kids,
ones are going to be so bizarre until
Yeah.
he's the head coach after Andy.
yeah, because C kids, he never played for the Pacers, but he's Indiana's son. So I guess they just gave him a jersey one summer. It's so weird, but yeah,
There's no one more beloved in Indiana than Larry Bird. Maybe not anymore, but because he obviously went to Indiana.
yes, Indiana
to the
State.
U. Indiana State. Was it Indiana State?
I think Seth's the right person to speak on this with expertise.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it was Indiana State, the Sycamores. Seth.
And Seth, when you covered the professional basketball team in Indiana for a couple years, what was you thought Larry Bird was the most beloved of the?
Nate, let me explain
How
to
long
you
were
a
you on
few
the beat,
things
Seth?
about the Pacers and their history.
Interesting.
What
Wow.
is the equivalent? What is happening right now is that I just started talking, and I wish I hadn't.
Nate, I got a traffic
why don't you
ticket
say
in a
things?
small county in Minnesota, and I'm trying to figure out how to get out of it. It was like, is there an appeals process?
Well, I think you should call this guy Seth Keysor, who I'm looking down
Seth,
here.
Seth,
he
quick!
might
I need
know
your
some
start. I need your
folks.
starting five in a Pokemon playing basketball. I need your five starting lineup. Go.
In my defense,
Onyx has got to be the 5.
I mean,
Onyx
the
has got to
height
be.
there, but no arms is tough. I don't know.
Onyx got to be the 5. I mean, come on.
Thank you, Tyrion Strongjaw. This is why Drew threw his helmet. This is the type of shenaniganry. I'm sitting here
Needs to stay in
mansplaining.
the lexicon.
I'm Seth-splaining. Oh, good.
Seth
Yeah,
splaining
let's
needs to stay.
please.
So look,
Thank you,
Andy-
Nate.
Andy Reid did his guy a favor. You sure you want to come out here, right? We're not. Hey, John, we're not in Kansas City. You know that, right? Like you gotta fly in, then drive, and it's in the heat. It's gonna be hot. But look, he's known Patrick Mahomes for a while. He's seen Patrick Mahomes throw 4 touchdowns in his face in 1 quarter. So of course he wants to come and put on Chiefs gear and get that old feeling back of what it feels like to be on a practice field telling grown men what to do, but having no power whatsoever because you're not the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. So honestly, I don't know why he's there. And Andy Reid didn't even want to talk about it. He was like, he's here.
Oh, you noticed?
Hey, Andy, who's won the left tackle job? Stop asking. Hey, Andy, how's Sky Moore looked? He's working. Hey, Andy, what would you like to see from?
Oh, we reached this phase of training camp already.
Yes,
Yesterday was the
how
official
boring it
beginning
is.
of it. Yes.
It's not even the first preseason
It's
game.
a game. Hey, coach, what would you like to see from Kadarius Toney? Is he practicing? Well, I would like for him to be out there. Coach, do you know anybody's name on defense? No. Okay, that's where we are in camp. That's
Coach
great.
Spags turned in on his like a B- today. I felt like this was not Spags's best day, and he's perfect at the presser game. Again, he still put up 25 because he's Steve Spagnuolo, but it wasn't a 40 burger.
Yeah, so
he put up 25. Well, so you know what, Josh, so Nate in basketball, they're often gauged by scoring of points when you put the ball in the basket.
If you can name one member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, I'll let you guys do the rest of the show by yourself.
He's really tall and he's skinny.
Hold on, Nate.
Chet Holmgren.
Hey, I got him.
That was tainted. That was tainted.
Yes. And
I don't know what you
he's
mean.
from where, Seth? Where is he from?
Fine.
Indiana?
No, he's from Minnesota, you dummy. Goodness gracious.
Just directly calls me a dummy. Doesn't even skip through it. Oh man. Well, so we finally did it. Those who are, man, our visual bits. Those who are audio only, Josh has literally left the chat. That's the second time I've done that to him in just a couple of weeks. Last time it was because I dropped an incredible dad joke. And that, it's not that's on him that he doesn't have good taste in dad jokes. This time it's because we broke his spirit. And I got to say, Nate, I feel better about that. That's
what camp's all about this time of year. Is can your spirit be broken and can they rebuild your spirit? There really is a true phrase about coach is going to beat the hell out of them. Then he's going to break their will. Then he's going to kind of, bring them back to life, resuscitate them, and then he's going to build them up again. I don't know where we are in the spectrum of things because, today's practice was, I don't know, cloudy, 70 degrees. It was really nice. They were in for 2 hours. It was fine. But I think what some people don't realize is how difficult it is to get ready for the first preseason game because you haven't played football in months, especially if you're not a guaranteed, starter. And then after playing a football game in pads against another team, you're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, next Monday, they will be back in pads less than 48 hours from playing the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And that's when you're going to have some annoyed people. That's when they've had some training camp shoving matches. My money on a training camp fight is next Monday Tuesday, Monday. That is 1,000,000% going to happen. I have one Gruden take, and for those who are only audio listeners or voyeurs, whatever we landed on a little while back, lurkers,
watchers.
Josh has now returned like the phoenix arising from the ashes. Josh
Tucker
was on the sideline.
I could tell how upset he was, and so I decided to come back. But not for either of you, for Tucker.
Sure, that's fair. So Josh, during the middle of the long drive drill, he couldn't handle it. He was on the sideline puking. The coach just said, huddle up a little to the left, move to the side. We're moving on without him. But then, like a phoenix from the ashes, he rose up, swallowed that puke before it could come out, and joined back on the line. Good for you, Josh. I do have one John Gruden take.
I'd rather puke and listen to that again.
The only thing is I hope that he has some kind of consultation with Spags, because other than the Bucks, and that's with Tom Brady, who's really good at breaking down protections and that sort of thing. John Gruden a couple of times figured out Spags' blitzes and how to protect them better than almost anyone else. A couple different times where Derek Carr had some really good games.
2 tight end sets. Yep.
Yep, and he had some really great protections and releases, and he I don't know how, because Derek Carr had gotten destroyed by Spags previously, but he had found a way to help Carr ID those pretty well, and that would be a really good thing, I think, to at least consult on. That's like my one take. I would love to see, because usually you don't see Spags get got, right? Unless he's got to blitz 35, 40% of the time. And Gruden was able to help Carr with that a few times. So that's something that I would like to see a little more of. I hope that was enough football analysis to make Rob happy.
Real quick, I know Greg Slayton says Larry Bird coached the Pacers. Yes, he did. He coached the Pacers to the NBA Finals in 2000. But
Seth knows. That's Seth.
This photo of Larry Bird in a Pacers jersey is during his late playing career, or it might have been before the draft. Again, it's hard to say. I don't know the exact details. It's on my phone. Maybe I'll do that while we get to training camp. The dog days of training camp is find this photo of the photo I took of Larry Bird in a retro Pacers uniform, not when he was coaching said Pacers. Now can I bring us to the first topic, Josh?
I would love it if you would do that, Nate. Feel free.
Not as much as Rob would.
Because I have a little anecdote. I don't know if this was put out there on Twitter yesterday, but I believe, was it Tucker who got the video? I think Tucker, who deserves all praise and all get out. No one loves training camp more than Tucker D. Franklin. God dang it.
The D stands for God dang it. The D
he gets the video. I think this was in the team period. Maybe the long drive. Yeah, this was a long drive drill yesterday, not today. So Monday. Patrick does a nice little out route, nice little short, quick game to Rashee Rice. Rashee, near the boundaries, gonna work on turning up field, trying to get the additional yak. I can't tell which white linebacker it was, and I mean that in the white jersey. I couldn't tell which white jersey it was.
Sure.
But it was a white linebacker named either Leo. It wasn't Leo Chanel. It was either Cole Christensen, Jack Cochran, Drew Tranquil. They have so many white linebackers in white jerseys.
Didn't even mention Swayze.
I couldn't even detect. I couldn't even tell. Oh, we're gonna get to him.
Okay,
I couldn't tell which white linebacker it was, but thank you, Anonymous Mingo, who says it was Cochran, who's been an animal, honestly. So Jack Cochran, let's say, hits Rashee Rice when we think the rep's over. Hey, I turned it upfield, I got thudded or I got bumped, which is what most coaches want. Can't fully tackle to the ground. All right, nice little thud, maybe two. You can punch the ball out if you want. Why are you hitting me, Jack Cochran? To the point, as the Seth says, now we're getting into scuffle territory. Hey, why'd you do that? Hey, it's not a game day, you dummy. Hey, I'm on your same team, a-hole. And he throws the ball in the direction. I believe someone, again, another white linebacker who I cannot discern based on the amount of bodies near the sideline, hits Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice then approaches to get back into the fray and then realizes, I'm sorry, I must remove myself. I now must puke. And I can just let Patrick take it from here. Patrick, take Drew Tranquil out of the situation because I'm hurling, okay? And I'm not going to run another rep in this 20 to 16 to 12 play long drive period because I'm puking because I got hit too many times by Jack Cochran.
I don't understand how Rice didn't realize what a power move that is mid-scuffle. Oh, you're going to get in my face? I'm going to vomit all over you. And yeah, sure, get in my face, buddy. Let's see what happens. I gotta say, that was an opportunity to just establish dominance over Cochran to PTSD levels.
And I don't think Tucker could get the video based on where his angle was and where the other reporters are up the hill, but we could see behind the sea of guys in red jerseys that guy over there is on a knee puking. Great. We've made it, guys. Training camp 2024 is here. The skirmishes end not because Andy Reid says you can't fight, because you puked.
Well, and also Patrick Mahomes put hands on Tranquil. And I tweeted about this afterwards.
He put arms around Tranquil.
He put arms around him. One of my favorite things, and this happens at every camp, is players will start to get into it. And they'll start to, this, that, and the other thing. That's going to happen. By the way, everyone, this is all totally normal. Drew Tranquil, by the way, is a madman. And, he is clearly...
Who angered that man?
It's clear that Spags is not telling him to chill out. Yep. I would just say that. It's very clear. And that's fine. You need a guy like this because he is him and Pacheco. It's great.
Yes,
but anyway...
those two guys. You want to have a little engine on either side chugging along.
Yep.
Just not, punching anyone in a helmet or anything.
Yeah, let's not punch people in helmets. That's dumb.
With our Hall of Fame fist.
Yeah. Please don't punch people with your $30 million fist. So when it happened again this year, it's one of my favorite things where a player's, getting, I'm going to do this, whatever. And then someone grabs them. And then, of course, everyone goes into hold me back mode and tries harder to get away. Until they realize the person who's holding them is worth $500 million and your career, it literally doesn't matter who you are. Your career is on the line in that moment. And you immediately see them I'm still angry, but boy, am I moving a lot less than I was a second ago because, hey, Pat.
Oh, what's up, Pat? Oh,
yeah.
Is that Pat?
Hey,
yeah. My bad.
Look, when I was flailing my arms around.
Next rep.
Literally, the only way you could be in more danger right now is if it's Travis Kelce and the Swifties are coming for you. But it's my favorite thing because you'll see them start to. They realize it's Pat, and they're just just kind of just. Bring it down to zero.
You remember what George Karlaftis did earlier to. This is before the Pats, kids.
Oh, to Tony?
Yeah.
George Karlaftis had already kind of lost his mind. Levels Kadarius Toney for no reason.
Pre-pad.
Pre-pad. And Travis Kelce comes to him and he goes, yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, dude.
I lost my mind. I'm sorry.
Hey, you okay, Kadarius? Because he really did level him. Like Kadarius got horizontal. That was unbelievable.
Decleated him, you could argue. Yes. I mean, it was wild. But Yeah. So, with all this going on, and now that we've got Rashee Rice to puke, as it's been said in the comments.
Super Bowl guaranteed. The Chiefs has won the Super Bowl every year that Rashee Rice has puked to training camp.
Yep. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look, this is a procedural thing, okay? We have to do it per the rules of the NFL in association with the Players Association and the Pro Football Writers of America, which means every starter should be, and now this is per the media policy in accordance with the league, with the Players Associated and the Pro Football Writers of America. Every player who's a starter, if healthy, if available, should be made available to reporters at least once during training camp. The Chiefs have decided that today was the day that we were going to get Rashee Rice, after yesterday was the day that we got Matt Ariza. So it was very clear.
Tomorrow it's Gruden.
Or Harrison Butker.
Yeah, actually, it will be Butker.
It will be Butker tomorrow. So there's nothing going on with him at all.
The sheer volume of I'm just here to talk about football. I'm excited for this year. It's going to be amazing how you're going to be able to ask him, like, hey, what's your favorite color? I'm really excited about this year in Chiefs football. It's going to be incredible. I'm really excited
who I am
to be
right
here.
now? I'm a Chiefs staffer. You're damn right. That's right.
That
football.
That would be a change. I mean,
football. You like
I'm
that?
less confident in that
football.
than I am with what Rashee Rice was going to do today, and then did
Right.
today. Listen, it's good to know that Rashee Rice can memorize a play call, and that's what he did.
Hey, Josh, why don't you be Rashee Rice and I'll be a chief staffer off to the side, ensuring that we do Milton Bradley, which means the same play in the same huddle in the same formation, time after time.
Okay, yep. And ready, on, set, action. Honestly, it's still a legal process. My team is handling that.
But Rashee, have you learned anything from what you've gone through recently in terms of just, is there any kind of growth that you've had to go through throughout this process? And what are you doing to continue to try to grow?
Like I said, it's a legal process. My team's handling that off the field for me. Those are verbatim two exact answers. And scene, because that was exactly what he said in response to basically that question twice today.
And had someone tried to follow that up with a more like whatever question, the look that they would have gotten would have been some version of get out.
Well, Seth, I hate to reuse a good bit, but you're definitely the person in this show right now who would be the one to tell us what it was like in that media tent today when Rashee Rice was up there.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I let you down because I thought there was a more valid question. When we get to these type of back and forth, and really this sausage isn't even tasty, let alone I don't want to see how it's made, but sure, let's go through it.
I don't want to make.
I want a tasty sausage, and this is not it. Okay, this ain't it, Rashee. Tasty sausages, but you know what that chief staffer said? You gonna like it anyway. Now look. I thought there was one honest question that I could have asked Rashee Rice that maybe would have gotten something informational from a news gathering standpoint. And I honestly forgot it. And sometimes that happens because, look, it was pretty chapter and verse, as Josh just explained. And once you know a player has, it's his priority, or his priority. It is his priority in some ways.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
It's his prerogative to answer the question how he wants to answer it. Totally respect that. Totally understand that. Sometimes my wife asks me questions and I don't want to answer them. Okay. But
I'd really like to comment on how Nate answers his wife when she asks him questions. I feel like I'm probably the best person to talk about this.
Sometimes she asks me things and I just, next question. Next question.
Here's my little nitpick with that from today, not with you guys, but with how Rashee Rice answered the questions. This may have been yours. I can't remember. I think it was the second of the two. I think it may have been yours.
Yeah,
yours
I follow up just so that everybody knew this is where we are. Okay, anything not related to football, we're getting this answer. I just want to ask this just to confirm it, so that we have two answers on record of this. Just that in future reference, and by the way, this is a little inside journalism, but like this is, you have to ask the question 2 times just to make sure you get the same answer twice so that you can use it for contextual purposes later if he does get suspended or if something does happen in the legal case, right? So that way you have something on record of him saying, hey, he had multiple chances to answer before all this happened. This was his repeated answer. Go ahead, Josh.
You and Sam McDowell from the Star had the 2 on this when they got the same kind of canned answer. And this is actually, I guess, true in some way with both of them. With McDowell's question, it was any conversations with the league at all about his potential suspension, or did he interview with the league about any of this?
Right.
And yours again about if he was going to be available for the beginning of the season, if that was his expectation.
Correct. If he's been told one way or the other, if he's going to be available for the season.
And this
for
is
the start of the season, I should say.
This is nitpicky, but those aren't legal matters.
Correct.
Those are employment matters. Like those
Correct.
are private. Have you spoken to Roger Goodell is not a legal question. And I think I'm the right person to talk about the legal implications of all of this. So I'm also going to do that. But like that is a little bit annoying in terms of a canned answer where it wasn't, you guys didn't ask. So what'd you say? 120 something? What were you pushing out there? Like he's already apologized for that. So that's kind of done and dusted, right? Like, so, and Seth, you've talked about the like what isn't actually charged yet.
Right.
Not Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison.
Yes.
I didn't want to get the wrong Vikings receivers. I went, which one was it? Jordan Addison had some sort of like arraignment date set already for something that happened like months after Rashee Rice's thing. I know Texas is a whole other animal, but like
Texas,
we are lacking a lot of information here.
Right.
And again, Rashee Rice is well within his right to say, I'm not going to comment on that right now because it's an ongoing matter.
Right.
But it really made it feel even more like he had he had a play card on his wristband. He's like, it's a legal matter. It's ongoing. It's like Roger Goodell's a lawyer. Like, is that true? I don't know.
I mean, technically he does have a law degree.
That's what I said that one. Actually, you know what? You know what? Checkmate back again. I guess I called it too soon.
The only other question I would have asked that does not deal with the league or the legal matter in the more traditional manner in terms of the multi-car and the accident and the felony charges is his attorney Royce West made it appear, I guess in April, that he of the victims that he obviously affected. And I wondered if there was some communication, and we talked about this in episodes months ago, and Seth sort of explained why you'd want to do that, sort of the difficulties of, hey, you're basically under investigation. You've pretty much admitted fault to some degree. But, from a human standpoint, you should try to reach out to those, to the victims to obviously get a better perspective moving forward so that obviously you don't make the same mistake. I didn't ask that question, and it literally came to me right as he was leaving the podium. And it's one of the things that, like, again, as human beings, you're just like, dang it. That would have perhaps been something that he could have spoke more about versus I have no statement on the actual charges or the pending charges, and I have no statement on the league. It's ruling on, on what they're going to do with me and the potential of a suspension.
Seth, I'm going to offer you a deal here that I will not cut you off with a break right now in exchange for your brevity on the kind of a dismount on the Rashee Rice thing. And then we'll take our planned actual break and then come back and talk extensions, both perhaps pending and done. Anything from that today that does jump to mind for you from your perspective on Rashee Rice?
I'll say 2 things. One, legal based on the comments, and then one more practical. Delays in charges do happen pretty frequently. I have some under reviews that are a year old. And that's kind of what happens, especially if I know that there's an ongoing civil case where the victims are in the process of maybe being made whole that doesn't require kind of a speedy response. Some people did ask whether they're waiting to see what kind of injury recovery someone has. At this point, we're enough months out that probably wouldn't really be the difference between substantial and great bodily harm. So I doubt it's that, but it might just be, it sounds bad, but it's not high priority. And it's not emergent, And so that might really be all that's going on there, but it's just impossible to say. I've got third degree assault cases that I haven't charged out from 8 months ago. And it's terrible to say, but unfortunately, the other thing comes across your desk and it's like, well, have to do that right away. So that's the serious thing. But so it's not entirely uncommon. It's kind of weird given all the publicity. This also could well mean that Rice's attorneys, who are civil and criminal attorneys, which isn't always common, but in this case, that's what's going on here from what I see. It could be that they're working with the DA's office saying, hey, we're keeping you up to date. These are the negotiations in the civil matter. This is what we're trying to do to make the victims whole. He is going to pay through the nose and take responsibility there and do everything. How about you wait to charge until you just see how much responsibility he takes and how he makes them whole and how he does all that? And then could you maybe charge it out as a lower level felony instead of a higher level felony or as a misdemeanor, et cetera?
Misdemeanors. We're looking for misdemeanors, kids.
That's likely what is happening there, would be my guess. On the flip side, the one thing that he did say that I'm sure someone told him to say, but maybe it'll sink in, is the whole watching the company he keeps thing. One of the most annoying things that my parents said to me that turned out to be true is that you are who you hang out with. And that's nice to hear. And that's no disrespect to, his buddies he was with that day. He's part of the problem, maybe whatever. But
buddies might be saying the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, his buddies might be saying the same thing. And you could say it to all of you. Okay, you guys are fine on your own. Together, you're morons. Now, that's a verbatim quote from what my dad said to me and my best friend when we were 17. You guys might be fine on your own separately. Together, you're morons.
And really, I think the most impactful thing Seth's dad ever told to him, let's take a break.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Let's actually invert the order we have in the rundown here, and let's talk about the done deal before we talk about the pending ones, because frankly, as far as core 9 contract extensions go,
yes,
Harrison Butker has the most simple one, because we know where kickers generally come into play, and we know what the market ends up looking like. Harrison Butker gets a 4-year deal worth a little bit north of $25 million, with about $17.5 million guaranteed. $25.6 million deal, $17.57 million guaranteed. Butker negotiated the deal, represented himself, so no agent fees there either. When you're getting that kicker money, you're just slicing over where Justin Tucker is at. There are some interesting things here, and I'll ask you guys a question that I asked to, I almost said our friend, my colleague Sterling Holmes. I don't want to call him a friend. That's not fair. I love Sterling.
But asking this earlier, Donovan, yeah, you're damn right he is.
He did eat those cinnamon rolls before he was supposed to at the wedding.
He really did, and I am going to cause a scene at his wedding, but he doesn't know what yet. But I asked Sterling this question too. There are different angles on this. You guys can both sound off on however you'd like. But I asked Sterling, do you want to be the team having the highest paid kicker in football? Do you want to have the highest paid kicker in football? The Chiefs have told you they do not want to have the highest paid punter in football. Specialists and the way those both come in are very different. I'll give you guys my take on it in a second. But something to simmer on. Nate, anything that you know about how that deal came together, or anything that stands out to you about the Harrison Butker extension?
Well, there were multiple kickers this offseason who got new deals, and that sort of gave both the Chiefs and Harrison Butker a runway towards this logical conclusion. I made the argument in The Athletic that like Harrison Butker's been the most successful kicker, the best kicker in the league the past 2 years, and that's a league that still includes a very good Justin Tucker, who will one day be in the Hall of Fame. You can make an argument that Harrison Butker's already a future Hall of Famer based on his accolades. This is the perfect time to strike for this particular deal for Harrison Butker because he had the best season of his career last year. He did not miss a single kick in 4 postseason games, all of which were in 4 different conditions. You go from freezing in Kansas City, very windy in Buffalo, a normal traditional January game in obviously Baltimore, and then obviously you're in dome conditions for the Super Bowl. He now holds the record for the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. And I just want to know what it's like, man, to be so good at your job that you don't even need an agent no more.
Tyrion in the chat says somehow Butker could get a deal done, but the Katz brothers.
It took him a little bit, but hey,
That's-
tomato.
Oh God, I cannot believe what I'm about to do here.
For the Katz brothers, come on, join the game.
Seth, they don't need you. It's okay. What do you think about the Butker deal?
Well, they need someone.
They do. They might need to represent you.
So in terms of Butker, there's a couple things here. I actually had a really good, I think he's maybe a listener. I had a really good conversation with Ty on Twitter, talking back and forth, like from an analytics viewpoint. He pointed out that because you've got small sample size situations for clutch situations, you can't really know that Butker is actually better at that than other kickers and what they might do in the opportunities. Now, you can't know with an analytically certain, with the analytically certainty that you'd like to have.
That's fair, sure, yeah.
And so really, it's tough to say, well, is he a percentage enough better than a good kicker to justify being paid this much more than that good kicker would get paid? Which is it's a tough question to answer. For me, it does become pretty simple. He's the second most accurate kicker in league history, and we've got a big sample size of that.
Right.
And we also, and that's with him playing hurt most of 2022. Now, those extra points didn't hurt him, which extra points were an adventure for most of 2022. And it was like, who knows? But field goals were still great. Like, it's like 50-yard field goal. I'm like, oh no, this is fine. Extra point? Who knows what might happen here? I don't even know. None of us know. I would say with this, we've got a sample size of him being the second most accurate kicker in league history. We've got a big sample size to know he's got a huge leg in terms of he can put out of the end zone if you want. It sounds like he's worked with doing directional stuff in terms of the new kind of rules. And a guy with a big leg has an advantage there, right? Because you can be a little more directional because you don't have to, go as hard as you can. Leg talent versus similar like arm talent with a quarterback. We also know that his field goal range for a guy who's really accurate. Sometimes you have kickers who are really accurate, but they're more like, 50 and in. Whereas we saw when he kicked the 63-yarder, that could have been from like 67 or 68. He's got a huge leg. We also know, and this is where you guys kind of were talking about, he has been placed in more hardcore clutch situations in various elements than any kicker in the league by far in the last 5 years. And he hasn't missed any of the game winners or game tiers. He did have a missed field goal, I want to say, against Cincinnati, I think, in that awful mess of a game when they lost the AFC Championship. Maybe that wasn't it. I think he's got one miss in the playoffs, maybe.
Not to keep crediting Sterling, but he said he missed his first kick in the playoffs, which is funny.
That is funny.
Check it, and it is Sterling, so grain of salt. But
no, that was the 2017 loss to the Tennessee Titans, where yes, Marcus Mariota caught his own pass for a touchdown.
Oh,
that feels like longer than 7 years ago, which I think I'm grateful for.
Sorry, fellas.
And so that's all of that you can take into account, and someone said he missed in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He doinked it. That's always just the funniest thing. Anyway. So he's a great kicker in the wind. He's a great kicker in the rain. He's a great kicker in high pressure situations. You have a large enough sample size to see all that. And the money with a kicker, it's just not that much more. Normally when you're saying top of the market deal, you're talking, in the receiver world, $35 million a year. With kickers, it's like, well, it's so much more. It's like, well, it's like, $75,000 more. In the NFL world, these numbers just aren't that big. To me, it's kind of like the idea of paying Creed Humphrey top of the market because of the position.
That's happening, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happening.
That's happening.
And I would know. I would not know, by the way. Nate would know. And so that to me, generally speaking, I don't think you want to be the team that pays a kicker by far the most. I do think when you are a perennial Super Bowl contender, and he is the best kicker in the league, and you are not nervous. I don't know about you guys. I was not nervous for the game-tying field goal in the Super Bowl. I just wasn't.
This,
I wasn't nervous.
This past one, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I wasn't nervous when they went down the field in 22 against Cincinnati. Once they got into reasonable field goal range to win the game, I wasn't nervous about it. I just wasn't, because I've seen him do that time after time after time after time. And there's something to be said for even just a small edge, because when you're in the playoffs, those small edges, those really in the margin things mean a lot more. So I think you're a little more likely to be willing to pay that little bit of extra money if you're the Chiefs for a guy who can move the needle in those huge situations, which is what I think differentiates him from a punter, because you don't have that same thing.
That's essentially where I ended up with Sterling as well. Was that most teams shouldn't have the highest paid kicker in football, but if you are in the playoffs every year and really you're expecting your kicker to make big kicks in the divisional round, the championship game, and the Super Bowl every single year, that is actually the expectation. Then yeah, it probably is worth the $400,000 or whatever it was to quote reset the market there. He's at the top of the market. He didn't blow the top off of the market, which again, that'll be the thing to watch with Creed or whoever. So ultimately, that's kind of where I ended up. I think it's interesting to note that like Harrison Butker and Drew Tranquil have pretty much the same AAV. Like if you want to think about players and impacts and what we talk about and where you do find them.
Interesting.
There's the Nick Bolton money conversation where it's like, all right, well, maybe it's Nick Bolton or it's George Karlaftis in the future. I don't think Harrison Butker is taking food off the plate of depth at linebacker.
No.
If they had, I would have been fine giving that $3 million to Willie Gay Jr., but they didn't not pay Willie Gay because they were like, well, Butker's got to make a lot more. Ultimately, like I think it's fair and worth noting that you'd rather have your kicker be a value. And right now, Butker is probably not a value. He's just worth it. And I think that makes a lot of sense for where the Chiefs stand now. So he'll be around for a while, and they're going to have to keep finding other advantages in other places, which they've been doing. The other thing is we all saw what happened when he was hurt. Like the replacement level kicker isn't the same thing as replacement level running back or frankly replacement level linebacker. The 35th kicker in football is really far away from the 5th kicker in football. Again, devil's advocate here. Dave Tobe and Brett Veach found Harrison Butker on the Carolina Panthers practice squad. Hey guys, can you go find me another one that's not going to be $6 million or whatever? Could we find a way to go ahead and not pay a specialist this much money? But they're doing that at punter. They also have one of the highest paid long snappers, and it's not a huge line item because he's a long snapper. They're not making Creed long snap to save $1 million there. So ultimately, I think it makes sense, but I don't think it's beyond conversation because it is genuinely unique. The Chiefs now have the highest paid kicker in football.
And again, they started last year with nobody on the roster being the highest paid player at their position. Joe Thuney was the closest when last season started, and that was a fair criticism at the time of Clark Hunt, given that we thought they were in the midst of a dynasty, and they are indeed in the midst of a dynasty, which is what led to my tweet yesterday about the core 9 all getting new deals, or in Mahomes' case, getting more money up front to be, closer to the actual cash flow, not the silly, AAY, which is just, or AAV, I should say, which is, ballooning. Here's a great way to ask Seth, so that it all comes back, because fun fact, kids, during training camp, I started watching The Last Dance again. Seth, he's Steve Kerr. Do you want Steve Kerr in the corner or not?
You want Steve Kerr if you're the 98 Bulls.
Okay.
If you're the 98 Hawks, you don't care.
No, I don't need him. Yeah, right.
You don't need him. But no, he's Steve Kerr, and you're glad you have him. And that's necessary for part of that dynasty. That's a really good. I like it. Steve Kerr is great. I'm trying to figure out the sharpshooting angle makes it tougher. You can't really. He's not Ron Harper. Ron's defense was too important.
Right.
It's a little bit more there. But he's Steve Kerr. I like it. That's a perfect analogy.
And look, guys, every now and then, the information is journalistically sound. And now you can tell your friends about the core 9 of them, you know?
And it is nice that there is a special teamer in the core 9, and it shows the Chiefs' commitment to diversity and sharing the equity and including everybody. And I'm sure Butker is happy to be on that side.
It's a game of 3 phases. You know, the Holy Trinity doesn't exist if it's just 2 phases.
Somebody clip Nate saying the Holy Trinity doesn't exist and then send that to Harrison Butker. And also Seth, I think. Let's talk about the other reporting that hopefully is sound, Nate. You have a new piece up in The Athletic looking at Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, that the Chiefs are looking to get those deals done. What can you tell us? What can you tease from the story over there? Where are those conversations at in your understanding right now?
Creed and Trey?
Creed and Trey.
Do you have like an Athletic subscription link we can get this at?
So this is something
I was contributing ish.
Kind
more
of.
or less. Yeah.
This is something I've been working on since training camp started.
Just adding a little flavor to it.
You know, just a little salt.
Yeah.
Just a little salt.
It's like a hype guy. It's like patter during praise and worship, you know, just a little chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Drew Tranquil understands that what he did all those weeks and months ago is in effect going to help the rest of the roster, right? Now I know, hey, what did Mike Dana do? What did Drew Tranquil do? Obviously Harrison Butker, you know, kind of got his bite at the apple. The next guy logically is Creed Humphrey, and I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you want this deal to get done as soon as possible so that it helps them try to find the best way to structure a rounded deal to potentially secure Trey Smith, right? So you could, this is just very spitbally, I'm not sure it's going to happen, but again, just sort of educationally trying to give a picture here. You could offer Creed Humphrey a 4-year deal tomorrow, and we kind of all know what the numbers are, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is essentially an all-pro talent, even though he wasn't an all-pro last year. Part of that is because Jason Kelce existed. Jason Kelce doesn't exist anymore. Now,
whoa, breaking, horrible. That's devastating. Man, Nate, that really makes me not want to podcast anymore.
What a way to drop that in there.
Just making sure you're listening. So without Jason Kelce a part of our society in football terms,
or this plane of existence, apparently,
the fact that Jason Kelce is no longer with us.
Jason Kelce is going to be on our TV more this year than he was last year.
Right. Yeah, it's perfect.
Well, Tupac was on TV too recently.
Yeah, I mean, look,
who knows? They can do all sorts of things with AI now.
Hey, Snoop Dogg, real quick, look at me. Just kiss her. We want to see it. Just kiss her now, okay? Put your lips
on me.
Put your lips on her lips. I want to see it, okay? I don't care about water polo. What I care about, Snoop, is you putting your lips on Martha Stewart's lips. Now, I understand that he might be in a relationship that is, you know, in the loving embrace of marriage, but again, I'm not here for that, okay? So, all that being said, they can offer
31 years older.
They can. I'd do it. So
I don't understand
a 4-year deal for Creed Humphrey will happen more than likely, right? And we all know based on the market, Creed Humphrey, you can get that deal pretty much locked in. He is slightly the better player of the two. He plays the position that is not as, I don't know, we all know what the value is, right? So if you do a 4-year deal for Creed, and if Snoop Dogg kisses Martha Stewart, then you can go back to Trey Smith and say, hey, what about a 3-year deal where we can sort of, you know, make it worth your while? Obviously, it's going to keep you on the roster for the next 2 seasons. We could do some funny money with that 3rd year. And I don't know what's going to happen with Nick Bolton. Guys, I literally don't know what's going to happen with Nick Bolton. It's kind of fascinating.
That is fascinating and not at all related to anything
at all.
Not football
or Martha Stewart.
Yes,
look,
Josh, it's safe.
I think the Chiefs are. I mean, I shouldn't say
the comments right now have so many thoughts and questions.
the Chiefs are prioritizing. I can't believe I'm doing this while giving legitimate news. The Chiefs are prioritizing Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith right now more than they are prioritizing Nick Bolton. Now,
So anyone who's upset, hang on, Nate, hang on. I need to make sure people don't miss that.
Say that without writing Martha Stewart, Snoop Dogg / fiction.
Anyone who is upset about they're not talking enough sports. Those guys seem to enjoy each other's company too much. They just love talking and laughing together, and I hate the sound of talking and laughing. Anyone who's feeling that way, Nate.
Camps broke me, guys. We're in the dog days. What do you want?
That turned into, you want the moon? Oh, lasso it up. And I don't know. I didn't even know I had that in my tool belt.
Guys,
so Nate, would you repeat that?
Seth, I'm not
Hold
sure
on.
you do.
It is being reported that they are paying Snoop Doggy Drizzle $500,000 to be at this freaking game, and you're not gonna kiss that woman. She's right there next to you.
What's the other part, Nate? Nate, this is for
11 p.m.
This is for Claude. We're doing this right now. This is what it's going to be. So, Nate, you have some insight into where the Chiefs' priorities are in some of their core guys, because the guys everyone's talking about is, we'll start with Nick Bolton, then we'll say Creed Humphrey, then we'll say Trey Smith. And you're telling me that the Chiefs are prioritizing who?
As of right now, what's in the Athletic, the Chiefs have prioritized, now that they've got their deal done with Harrison Butker, which was to be expected for a couple weeks now.
Yep.
They are now prioritizing trying to keep the core of their roster intact, and they have considered the core in relationship to the protection of Patrick Mahomes, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith. One of the things I wanted to put in the story, and this is specifically for Josh and the audience, you have to remember, guys, that these are two of the most durable players the Chiefs have had since they've been on the team. They were drafted at the same year. I think only of the two of them, Trey Smith has only missed one game. Creed Humphrey has never missed a game. They played every snap in the postseason the last 2 seasons. Obviously, the Chiefs went back-to-back as Super Bowl champions. And do you remember the last game that didn't involve Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey? Do you remember it?
I do.
You remember it?
I do.
Tell us, Josh.
It happened in Tampa Bay, Florida, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it wasn't a traditional home game, if memory serves.
Correct. And I think that matters, especially to Patrick Mahomes, who's also quoted in this story, understanding that, again, his contract should help give them flexibility moving forward so that you could potentially keep second generational core pieces together. The core nine's intact. The core 9 is solidified with Harrison Butker's pen to paper, I assume today or tomorrow. But now they've got the issue of the second generation core entering this new phase with Mahomes as they get to their prime while Mahomes is already in his prime. And so, again, I think ultimately Creed is probably the most likely player to get an extension that the Chiefs want to get done. He will probably be the highest paid center. And will they find a way to get Trey Smith with him before he ever touches free agency? Because if he touches free agency, he's a $20 million player. You should just put that off into existence now. Now, how much of that is about relationships, situation, who you play with, which team you're playing for, hometown discount, team that drafted you, all that goes into effect with Trey Smith, more so than it does Creed Humphrey. But it is interesting in the story, talking to Creed, that you could tell they've at least had some conversation about keeping their friendship together. They've known each other since sophomore year in high school, Creed and Trey.
Oh, wow.
And obviously they've been very good playing next to one another. And the Chiefs arguably have the best interior offensive line in all of the NFL once you include a healthy Joe Thuney.
Now, and I don't think it's arguable. This is you've got 2 All-Pros and a Pro Bowler at least.
Right.
In terms of play level.
So, with all that being said, Trey and Creed want to make it work. And that should give Chiefs fans optimism. But again, from a representation standpoint and maximizing your market, there's not a lot of time left. So that's why I say if you're a Chiefs fan, you should want Creed Humphrey's deal to be done as soon as possible because I don't know if people realize this, we're less than a month away from the start of the NFL season. And so they don't have that much time to try to make this work, but this is the Chiefs' plan for the next month.
It's certainly the most hopeful I've been on that regard, Nate, because I've just sort of been operating under the idea that it's going to be really, really, really hard to pay both of them without significant long-term sacrifices against the cap and investing it in that position. They would have to want to collaborate or something, especially Trey Smith. The way the guard market's gone, his free agent market is going to be so good that if I was his agent, I would be like trying to remind him of that time that Creed Humphrey like stole the last bag of goldfish or something. Like, you guys aren't really that good of friends. Like you can hit free agency. You guys can FaceTime during the week, but we're going to the NFC. Seth, what do you think about all that from Nate and specifically those two interior guys?
That was incredible news breaking by Nate, and that's why we had to rehammer that, because that's something I haven't heard anywhere, and that's really great to know because
athletic.com.
Yeah, and so I can't read, and so unfortunately,
no, they took your login. It's okay. You can say it.
It's they did take my login.
Did they really?
Well, it doesn't work anymore, but
Mine does.
No. Okay. I'm gonna dive Nate out of trouble here. So the long and short of it, I've been operating under the same assumption you have been, that there's no way with what they paid Juwan Taylor, with what they paid Joe Thuney, that you'd be able to keep two highly expensive interior offensive linemen. And so to hear that that they're at least trying to make it work is huge, because that changes a lot about what they need to do moving forward. My assumption on how heavy they hit offensive line this year is that they're preparing, but it makes sense to try both because you can always have a deep interior. That's good.
Right.
The thing that I would note that makes me a little more pessimistic about it is the reality of the situation that Trey Smith, by the end of this year, will have made a total of about $3.6 million.
Correct.
That's a lot of money. And we talked about this before, the expectations that are placed on these guys by family and friends, not all the time, but a lot of the time, is not like what you and I experience. No one in my family outside my wife and kids expect me to keep feeding them or expect me to help them with anything, because they're not foolish, because I'd be like, no, I can't do that. I don't know. Not that kind of lawyer. A lot of times, a lot of players, they've been planning on getting into the league for years, right? As high schoolers, as college, because you often know. And so they've got people to think about. There's a huge difference between wealth also and generational wealth. And like $3.6 million is wealth. In today's world, especially, that's not generational wealth. You know what is? $60 million.
24 a year from the Falcons or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. 22 a year, whatever it is. And Trey has some things going for him. Even though he was a 6th-round pick, he's got something going for him that a lot of guys who were 6th-round picks don't have going for them, is that he was a name. Yeah. He only fell because of medical concerns, and so he was already a name. And if you think that stuff doesn't matter, He was
a unanimous All-American. Same with Creed.
He was a name in college, and that matters with these contract negotiations. It just, your draft status normally is what gets you, but in his case, because he fell for a specific reason, if he hits free agency, there's no way, once you're talking about money there's no way the Chiefs could match that. So that is incredible news, and it would allow them to really operate differently if they're able to keep that core offensive line together.
It really is a great spot for him, and it's much in the same way that it worked out for Butker and Will for Creed Humphrey and Will somewhere for Nick Bolton. This isn't like they should be giving away hometown discounts, but just functionally speaking, there's no better stage to be on. No guards get talked about nationally more than Joe Tooney and Trey Smith because they're one of 2 teams playing in February 2 years in a row.
Right.
They are constantly in front of Patrick Mahomes in highlights and conversations around the team. Again, for Butker, it's playoff winning kicks, or at least kicks in the playoffs. For Nick Bolton, it's getting all this credit as like the centerpiece of this Chiefs defense that just went back to back. Like there really is something to it where my inclination for years and years and years and years is that players need to try to get as much money as they can, as often as they can. Their careers are short and teams don't care.
Yes.
Like their careers are very, very fleeting, and GMs do not have, their bodies don't break down to make them retire after 5 years in the front office. Owners really do not care. They are printing money in this league anyway. So getting players adequately, not properly compensated, I think is important. Even if I disagree with him about some things, just to dissuade a couple comments I saw earlier. I think players should get paid what they're worth, and take money from your billionaire owners. Go ahead. But there is more value to doing it on a team that is winning on big stages. And so maybe, and this is the double-edged sword, maybe that will trampoline Trey Smith or Nick Bolton, I don't think Creed, to a huge contract somewhere else, on the back of 2-time or 3-time reigning Super Bowl champion, been on this biggest stage. And maybe for a guy like Creed, maybe it's, hey man, we can make you highest paid by like a nickel, or we're going to maybe not quite make you highest paid, but we're going to make sure you've got security in this, and you're going to keep snapping the football to Patrick Mahomes. I really think Harrison Butker is a good example here again. If he would have had this exact career in Carolina, nobody would be thinking about him as a future Hall of Famer. It's the playoff moments, and it's the clutch wins there, and it's rings. Like, those are the things that raise your profile. And again, that can cut both ways, but it's such an interesting element of this, Nate. I'm really glad that I read that story at nytimes.com/athletic, and then everything else. The direct link I had bookmarked to your author page no longer works, so RIP to that. That was recent.
Oh, shoot. Great. I guess I got to change that. But the other thing, too, is this is why people love Travis Kelce, right? He's always been
the one in your bio does still work, so you're good.
Oh, hey. That's why again, I'm not, the comparison, I hope people understand, I'm not trying to say apples in any way, but the reason Travis Kelce is so popular in a sense is because he understood he was in a good situation. He loves the game, contrary to what Seth says, and he waited till the very end to become the highest paid player at his position, far knowing that Sam Laporta is breathing down his neck. Sam Laporta is so good. Just a quick sidebar. But anyway, he understood that he was going to have a great balance of both. And I think that is something that's going to be, again, intriguing when you think about your best friend is literally the guy you line up next to, and you guys are playing with the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, with the Hall of Fame coach, in a organization that obviously identified and obviously gave you the opportunity. And how much do you want to keep this going versus obviously capitalism and the chance to make more money elsewhere? If the Chiefs say sign Creed Humphrey, but they're not able to sign Trey Smith, and let's just say the Chiefs somehow win a third straight Super Bowl, the amount of overpaying on the market it's going to take to get him to leave, I could see why his agents think a certain way, because that possibility is potentially out there. But the player also has to feel like he's going to be supported the right way. And then, sometimes it doesn't all come down to money, but the fact that these two men are having some conversations about it, and that they know about their situation, and that they understand that they've had so much success already 3 years into the league and that they want to continue it, is quite telling at this time of the year, knowing what the Chiefs are trying to do. As Patrick said to me, that the Chiefs have gotten to the point now where you start drafting too well, and these are the struggles and the hurdles in front of you once the core 9 is secure.
We are way over an hour, so if you want to read a thing you can do with Seth's work as well, if you want to read Seth's latest look at the revival of the deep ball, the deep passing game, and a little parentheses overreaction from training camp, that's in the Chief of the North newsletter right now. We'll be back on Thursday to talk about more things from camp. And guys, I'm not going to say we're going to go matchup for matchup, that we're going to start breaking down the scheme, but we can pick some players we're excited to see in a semi-real exhibition football game. And what are voyeurs if not exhibitionists in a different light? I mean, I feel like this is great for our branding. So we will we'll do that on Thursday and talk about the other things that Nate sees out at camp. We got to get out of here. Seth looks like he's itching to say something, and then Nate, you can take it from Seth, and you can please. Wow, I don't know, Seth. Maybe you should just end this one. I'm afraid.
No. I got a good idea.
Well, Nate, you had a really bad idea earlier about Martha Stewart, and that.
Yeah, like a good idea, or a just kiss her idea.
No, good idea.
Go ahead, Seth.
I, for one, gentlemen, don't think that you should be kissing anyone outside of the confines of your loving marriage, and without their consent, certainly. So. Regardless of what Nate...
Hey, Martha's only human. I mean, I think it was
have you seen Martha? Come
it was
on.
implied that Martha was going to be just as, if not more, excited as Nate.
Sure. Fair enough. No,
Fair.
I'm excited to hear...
The show is over.
I'm excited to hear what Nate says to take us out.
Okay, fun fact, then a little story, okay? Yes, my wife used to work for Martha Stewart. Now, if you see here, kids, that is the Martha Stewart Cafe that my wife designed. That is her penmanship. Now, in the trees over here, look, I've been really thinking about this, all right, because Thursday gives us another chapter, another chance to open the book and have somebody write their story, okay? In 2018, it was Ben Neiman who rose out of the ashes and got his name up on them trees, okay? Do you guys realize that there was no preseason game and Turk Wharton still made the roster, okay? Not drafted, okay? They picked Tershawn Wharton over Breland Speaks. That happened, okay? Jody Fortson, in all his glory.
Watch them play.
Come on, man. In all his glory, went from receiver to tight end to making the roster to scoring touchdowns on Sundays, kids. It can happen, okay? Last year it was Justin Ross. Who's it going to be this year? Who's it going to be this year? Who wants to be the annual Ben Neiman? He made the 53 award. Is it you, Carson Steele? Is it you, Nico Remigio? Is it you, Swayze Bozeman, you swagadouches? Come on. Or is it Reese Lightning? Guys, in all my time covering this team, we've never had so many candidates before the first preseason game. Somebody get to the trees and make the 53.
It's kind of like the same thing as shoot your shot and kiss the girl.